Good afternoon. Unfortunately, President Barron and Mrs. Barron experienced a family health emergency that has required them to be out of town, so President Barron will therefore be unable to join us today. The Barrons are in our thoughts. Good afternoon and welcome. Let me begin by welcoming Kenya Mann Faulkner, the university's new Chief Ethics and Compliance Officer who joined Penn State in December and was introduced yesterday at the Legal and Compliance meeting. Welcome, Kenya. Where are you, Kenya? Is Kenya here? Is Kenya here? Uh-oh, strike one. Our new Vice President for Human Resources, Lorraine Goffey, will be joining the university on March 1st, so we will look forward to working with Lorraine. In addition, since our last board meeting, Craig Newshafer has joined the university as the Dean of College of Health and Human Development, and Patrick Jones assumed his position as Chancellor at Penn State Schuylkill in January as well. Announced as the new Dean of Dickinson Law, effective July 1, is Danielle Conway. On behalf of the board, I would like to offer our appreciation to Greg Stoner for serving as the Interim Vice President for Human Resources. That's a challenging and critical position, and Greg did a fantastic job, and thank you for your engagement and commitment to the university, Greg. Each year, Penn State pride and dedication of our students is on full display during Thon Weekend, which is the culmination of the work of 16,000 volunteers. Last weekend was a huge success with over $1.6 million raised to benefit the Four Diamonds Fund at Penn State Children's Hospital. More than 700 dancers went for 46 hours at the Bryce Jordan Center. I'm delighted that Kelly McGrady, Thon Executive Director, is with us today. Kelly is a senior majoring in human development and family studies. Her interest in Thon began in high school because she had a close friend who was a Four Diamonds child. She began working with Thon her first year at Penn State, and we're delighted that she's able to lead us to such a phenomenal effort over the last year. Please welcome Kelly to the podium. Thanks, Kelly. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm honored and humbled to be here with you all today, and I really greatly appreciate this opportunity to speak. The past 4 years have been filled with positive experiences that Penn State has provided for me. I've been inspired by the individuals I've met and the community that this university creates. My journey to Penn State began when I was a freshman in high school. My family friend's son was diagnosed with cancer as a freshman at Penn State. They became a Four Diamonds family. Through this, they came home from their first Thon as a family, exuding hope and positivity. This exposed me to philanthropy and how special Thon is, because it gave my family friends a reason to remain strong and hopeful during such a difficult time. My high school started a mini-Thon the following year, where I began making a difference toward this fight. During my senior year in high school, I was accepted to Penn State, and I attended Thon with this family. I knew that this is exactly where I belonged. Fast forward to March 16th, 2018, the day I was selected as the executive director of Thon. I never could have imagined that this would be my path, but I'm so grateful it is. Being the executive director of Thon has been an indescribable experience where I've grown as a leader tremendously. In my role, I lead an executive committee of 16 directors, and I oversee all large initiatives that we execute. I act as a liaison to the university and also to our sole beneficiary, Four Diamonds, at Penn State Children's Hospital. I also work closely with Thon's largest corporate and individual donors, and I am the face of the organization to the public. This role has been extraordinary, where I've had to learn to balance many aspects of my life. There have also been many challenges this year I could have never anticipated, but I came out stronger knowing the level of support I had from family, friends, staff, and supporters. Most importantly, I devote these hours because it does not compare to what a family with cancer endures. Although I have led this organization the past year, there are thousands of people who have been a part of the growth and success. For Thon 2019, we set out to create consistency within the organization while not being afraid to challenge past decisions. Thon has gone through a transition the past several years in fundraising and engagement, and this year we knew we had to come prepared to work tirelessly. With this being the first official year without a canning weekend, we recognized that the tone we set for this year would be the start of the next generation for Thon. Through these transitions, one of my goals was to create an inclusive environment for all volunteers, alumni, and supporters. I wanted all stakeholders to feel that they had a simple way to give to Thon, whether that was from volunteering, a donation, or more. From this, we created an initiative called Thon Nation, which allowed all non-students to easily raise funds and spread our mission online and in their communities. In addition, we partnered with multicultural organizations to create opportunities for diverse students to become involved with Thon, and we recognized these leaders on stage during Thon weekend. This year, we also successfully held our second annual One Day We Will Dance in Celebration campaign. Our goal was to raise $300,000 in 1 week, and we raised $512,518.36, where we were able to engage hundreds of student organizations to unite and spread our mission. We also partnered with Johnson & Johnson through a Giving Tuesday challenge for the first time, and they provided $30,000 in matching funds. We motivated students, alumni, and general supporters to donate on this National Day of Giving, and we surpassed our expectations. This year's theme for Thon was Shape the Moment. The mentality behind this is that Thon provides impactful moments for families during their child's battle. Cancer is such a difficult journey, but we have the opportunity to shape the experience into hope for a brighter tomorrow. Thon helps give moments of laughter, support, and love. By fighting year-round toward a cure, we are allowing for kids to live and experience life's moments. When I think about my time as a student, I also think that this theme resonates with the greater Penn State community. No matter if you're involved through athletics, academics, or even Thon, Penn State is creating moments that will live with us forever. Penn State is shaping us as leaders in our path beyond graduation. These are the moments that will define us. Whether it is being united in Beaver Stadium during a Penn State football game or in the Bryce Jordan Center during the final 4 hours of Thon, these experiences are unmatched and invaluable. At this university, we have the opportunity to fight towards what we believe in, which leads us to a purposeful life. I Thon and continue to give my efforts to this university because I recognize how fortunate I am to be given the gifts of health, family, and opportunity. It is up to me, someone who has the luxury to live, to dedicate myself for those going through hardships. Penn State has helped teach me the importance of selflessness and community, and this has shaped where I envision my future. Although my time is ending in the next few months as a student, I will continue to be involved at Penn State and make a difference where I can beyond graduation. Above all, I recognize that Thon could not continue to be successful without the support from the university. We are a student-run organization, but our incredible relationship is essential for continuity and growth. We are so appreciative of our partners, and it takes every student volunteer, staff member, alumni, parent, and supporter to continue fighting until the day we are dancing in celebration. Thank you so much for your support of Thon and for the opportunity to speak. Together, we are now $10,621,683.76 closer to a cure. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Thank you, Kelly, and please pass along our sincere thanks to your colleagues who give so unselfishly of their time and dedication to serve such a wonderful purpose. You make us all very, very proud, so thank you very, very much. Now we have two outstanding doctoral students with us to talk about their research and its anticipated societal impact. Both are distinguished by academic excellence and have received significant recognition and funding that reflects the importance of their research. If I listed all their accomplishments, we'd be here until Sunday. So we've provided full profiles for the trustees, and I'll keep our introductions brief. First is Andrew Elder, a PhD student in food science with a research emphasis in food chemistry. Drew received his undergraduate degree from Penn State in 2015. He received the most prestigious graduate fellowship offered by the Graduate School, the University Graduate Fellowship, and also a predoctoral fellowship from the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Drew led a product development team that placed first in competitions sponsored by the Dairy Research Institute and the Disney Institute for Food Technologists Student Associations. The product of this effort, Muffins, is a quiche-like muffin featuring cottage cheese curds paired with signature flavors. Did you bring some for us today, or no? Okay, good. His research and collaboration span well beyond Penn State, and last semester he presented his work at the European Federation for the Science and Technology of Lipids Congress in Belfast. Please join me in welcoming Drew Elder to the podium.
Well, thank you so much for that kind introduction, and thank you all for giving me the opportunity to tell you a little bit about my work here at Penn State. I'm truly honored. So my work is focusing on identifying new natural antioxidants for preserving foods. But before we get into that, I'd like to tell you a little bit about my Penn State journey. So, like what was said, I actually began my Penn State journey as an undergraduate, where I really set out to become the most well-rounded food scientist that I could. So I got involved with various product development competitions where I could take what I learned in the classroom and extend it to these various competitions. I also got involved with undergraduate research, which really showed me that I liked research and that I wanted to continue into my graduate studies. I had the opportunity to spend a summer in Green Bay, Wisconsin on an internship making cream cheese, and I was fortunate enough to continue my studies as a graduate student. I've continued to be involved with various product development competitions, even serving as competition chair for an international competition, and I've also had the opportunity to continue to work on my research and share it at international conferences. So enough about me, let's get into my research. So if you've been to the doctor recently or you've done some reading online about a healthy diet, you've probably heard you should be eating more fatty fish. And the reason behind this is that these fish are rich in omega-3 fatty acids, which are an essential part of the diet, meaning that our body cannot produce them, and the only way that we can get them is through eating them. And these omega-3s offer various health-promoting benefits. They can reduce the incidence of cardiovascular disease, they can promote brain health and development, and they also aid in eye health. They also have anti-inflammatory properties, making them very important to consume. However, even though there are many foods rich in omega-3 fatty acids, such as nuts and fatty fish, Americans often do not consume enough omega-3s in their diet. And as a result, the food industry has begun to implement adding omega-3s into foods that would not normally contain them so that Americans can continue to eat their normal diet while getting the various health benefits associated with omega-3s. This does have a drawback, however, in that omega-3s are highly prone to degradation, and as they degrade, they lose their health-promoting benefits. So I don't know if you've ever left a fish fillet in the fridge a little bit too long and it starts to smell like a fish tank overdue for a cleaning. That's the omega-3s breaking down. And when this happens, consumers reject these products, they throw out these food products, which leads to food waste, and they often don't repurchase these products, which is an economic burden to various food companies. So one way to address this is through the addition of antioxidants, which slow the rate at which omega-3s degrade, preserving their health benefits. So food products contain these compounds known as free radicals. They can very quickly react with omega-3s, degrading them, forming these various rancid aromas, which is what causes consumers to reject them. When you add an antioxidant, that antioxidant can react with free radicals much more rapidly than the free radical can react with the omega-3, therefore preserving the oil. And currently within the food industry, there's a really big push to replace synthetic ingredients with natural alternatives, and this is really being driven by consumers. Consumers want to be able to recognize what is in their foods. So this is also being applied to antioxidants. So if we look at this first food label, you can see that it contains the synthetic antioxidant disodium ethylene diamine tetraacetic acid, which is quite a mouthful, and consumers can't recognize this, and they also don't like its chemical-sounding name. So one way to address this is by adding natural antioxidants, such as rosemary extract. Consumers recognize rosemary. They have it in their pantry. They often cook with it. So this is why consumers want to see these natural antioxidants added to foods. However, over the past few decades, the food industry has been removing synthetic antioxidants, but we haven't been identifying new replacements that are natural. So this led to the question, can we identify new, effective, natural antioxidants that are both consumer-friendly and safe? And we believe we might have had a potential solution. So we've identified a compound known as alkyl-resorcinols, which has the potential to be an antioxidant, and it is found within rye bran. So for those of you that don't know, bran is a grain like wheat. It's often used to produce a flour to make bread, or it can be used to make rye whiskey. Okay? The bran is the outer seed coat of the grain kernel, and when we refine rye to make bread flour, the bran is discarded. And when we make rye whiskey, the sugars from the endosperm are extracted and fermented, leaving behind the bran as well. So this is a waste stream that is often discarded or used for animal feed. And what we found was that it contains this compound alkyl-resorcinol, which is very structurally similar to conventionally used antioxidants, so we were curious if we could use this waste stream as a new natural antioxidant. And what we found is that rye bran was able to preserve omega-3s in very model food systems, so think a very simple mayonnaise or salad dressing. And our next steps are to add these to more realistic food systems, such as cured meats, which still use synthetic antioxidants, such as butylated hydroxytoluene. So, though very early on, there is potential for for alkyl-resorcinols to become very effective natural antioxidants for use in the food industry. With that, I'd like to thank a few people. I'd like to thank the Department of Food Science and my department head, Dr. Bob Roberts, for their continued support throughout my studies. I'd like to thank my advisors, Dr. Ryan Elias and Dr. John Kuplin, for being a constant sounding board to all of my ideas, as well as just giving me constant feedback. I could not have done all of this by myself, so I'd like to thank my past and current lab members, as well as the USDA for their supporting me through a predoctoral fellowship. And I'd finally like to thank my family and friends. So with that, thank you so much for your time, and I'm truly honored to be here.
Thank you, Drew. We're always so impressed with our Penn State students, and I sparked up when you said rye, because I may have one tonight. Our next guest is Gudmundur Stephenson, a PhD student in astronomy and astrophysics. He received his undergraduate degree from University of Iceland. Before starting his graduate work at Penn State, he led collaboration efforts of two high-energy sensors at CERN, which is the European Organization for Nuclear Research that operates the world's largest particle physics laboratory. Since 2016, his research has been fully funded through NASA Earth and Space Science Fellowship, and at Penn State, he has received 4 fellowships. He is also involved in educational outreach and service activities, and in 2017, he gave a public lecture at the University of Iceland. He has authored over 20 articles in Astrobites, an online journal targeting undergraduate science students interested in astronomy. Welcome, please.
Thank you so much for the kind introduction. I'm delighted to be here today, delighted and honored to be here today and talk a little bit about my research here at Penn State. So just very briefly, like was mentioned in the introduction, I'm finishing up my 6th and last year of my PhD here at Penn State, where I'm in the Department of Astronomy and Astrophysics, where I'm currently a NASA Earth and Space Science Fellow. And I came here all the way from Iceland in 2013 due to Penn State's renowned reputation in astrophysics. So my research focuses on exoplanets, then planets outside our solar system in the Milky Way. And since the discovery of the first exoplanet in 1992 by a Penn State astronomer, I will say, Alex Volshan, this field has absolutely exploded. We now know of over 3,700 exoplanets, and this number just increases day by day. Exoplanets come in all shapes and sizes. There are these super hot magma worlds where it would feel like standing right next to the exhaust of a rocket engine. And then there are these extremely cold, frozen ice giant worlds. What I'm particularly interested in are the planets somewhere in between. Then the planets that might look something like this, then rocky and potentially habitable. In this context, we often talk about the so-called habitable zone, which is then the region around the star where liquid water could be sustained on the surface of the planet. Then it's not too warm and not too cold, but just right to sustain liquid water. So how do we detect exoplanets? Well, one of the main ways that we use here at Penn State is the so-called Doppler radial velocity method, which I show with this video. But as a planet orbits around its host star, it actually causes the host star itself to wobble in its own tiny orbit around the common center of mass. And then due to the Doppler effect, the same effect that causes the change in pitch as an ambulance comes zooming by, then the same thing happens to light, causing the wavelengths and the frequencies of light to change due to this wobble motion. And then by taking extremely precise measurements of the spectra of the star, like I'm showing here at the bottom, then we can start to map out these tiny shifts and infer the existence of a planet. To calibrate everyone on the extreme precisions involved when trying to make these measurements, then the wobble motion of the sun due to the Earth is 10 centimeters per second. This is then equivalent of trying to make these extremely precise measurements of a star light years away that is wobbling at the approximate walking speed of a desert tortoise. So at Penn State and in our research group, we have been building 2 next-generation spectrographs to do these measurements. Here on the left, I'm showing the Habitable Zone Planet Finder, or HPF, that we recently installed on the 10-meter Hobby Eberly telescope in Texas. And on the right is the next-generation NUID optical spectrograph that we're rapidly finishing up, that we're building for NASA and Jet Propulsion Labs for delivery this summer at the 3.5-meter WIND telescope in Arizona. HPF is already on sky and delivering 1.5 meter per second radial velocity precisions. And with NUID, using lessons learned from HPF, we're hoping to get down to 30 centimeters per second. Specifically, my research has focused on designing, building, assembling, and testing a number of the different subsystems that go into these instruments. On the left here, I'm showing an exploded view of the Habitable Zone Planet Finder vacuum chamber, showing the optics inside a liquid nitrogen-cooled vacuum chamber. And on the right, I'm showing a subsection of the integration team, actually just down here down the road in the 230 Innovation Park building, where our clean room labs are. So we have to make sure that we do this assembly and alignment in a clean room environment, because we need to make sure that we don't contaminate the pristine optics with any dust particles or other contaminants. So yeah, like I mentioned, we installed HPF at the observatory in late 2017. This was a very exciting time for all of us. Everything that everyone had been working on for the last 4 and 5 years, we packed it all up in a FedEx truck, then shipped it halfway across the US down to West Texas, hopped on the next flight, and then greeted it there at the observatory. The telescope dome there is on the big dome-shaped building there. I'm very happy to report that the installation went extremely well. HPF is currently delivering the most precise radial velocity precisions in the near-infrared in the world. And as such, HPF is recovering the known orbits of known exoplanets already. Here I'm showing the orbit of a known super-Earth exoplanet, then a slightly bigger planet than Earth. GJ1214, there's an artist illustration for you there on the right. We're already seeing very exciting signals around the most nearby stars that could be indicative of potentially new planets that have not been discovered so far. So stay tuned in the coming weeks and months for new discoveries. So yeah, I want to finish this short talk with saying that, of course, designing and building these next generation instruments is, of course, the work of many expert scientists and engineers, showing here on the right. I want to really thank my advisor, Suvrath, and my fantastic research group, and of course, Penn State, for giving me these fantastic research opportunities over the last few years, and for preparing me well for my next step in my research career. But I'm delighted to let you know that I'll be starting a postdoctoral fellowship at Princeton University. We'll continue exoplanet hunting this fall. Thank you so much.
Wow. Thank you, and thank you to all of our students for spending time with us today, and continued best wishes on your outstanding work at Penn State. Sorry to lose you to Princeton, but that's a fine institution, and we're happy to be with them. As this is our last meeting of the academic year for our student leaders, I want to take a moment to recognize them and to thank them for their engagement and collegiality. When I introduce you, please stand to be recognized, and when all are standing, we can show our appreciation for all they do and have done for Penn State. From wpsu, President Cody Heaton and Vice President Laura McKinney. From CCSG, President Greg Carvajal. Is Greg here? Yeah, Greg? You're all supposed to remain standing, okay, please. And Vice President Cynthia Harrison. And from GPSA, President Brianna Pragg. Brianna? I'm sure Brianna's in class. And Vice President Stephanie Winkler. Please join me in giving these exceptional students a round of applause. Thank you. Before moving on, Matt and I have had the opportunity to meet with the student leaders each Thursday morning of the sessions, and it's been an awesome experience. So we want to continue that with the next group. And so thank you for all of your input and your participation and all that you've done, and good luck to you in the future. Thank you. Before moving on, I want to thank Bill Oldsey for representing the board on the selection committee for the Penn State Laureate. And I also want to welcome our emeriti trustees with us today, Keith Eckel, Ann Riley, Barry Robinson, and Carl Schaefer. So thank you to all of you. Please note that the board met this morning in executive session to discuss various privileged matters. I would like to call to the meeting to order. Jeannie, please report on the attendance.
Not able to be here today are trustees Wolf, Barron, Rakowicz, Redding, and Rivera.
Thank you, Jeannie. Earlier today, the board was briefed on an exciting naming opportunity, and before the board votes on this impactful gift, I would ask Provost Jones to make some remarks. Nick?
Thanks, Mark. I'm very pleased to offer some background on alumnus and philanthropist John Leone and what he hopes Penn State can accomplish with his generous $6.5 million gift. John is a 1956 graduate of Penn State's College of Earth and Mineral Sciences, and through the years, he has given back to Penn State in countless ways. He had an extraordinary career in the energy industry, which led him to being named the president and CEO of Bonnie Forge, which has operations in the United States, Italy, and China. Under John's leadership, the company's annual revenue grew from $18 million to $350 million. Bonnie Forge is an industry leader in manufacturing steel products and specially engineered products for the energy industries. Named the 2015 Philanthropist of the Year, John has generously shared his financial success with Penn State, the place he says helped him launch his successful career. The Leones gave their first gift to Penn State in 1984, and their philanthropy has continued throughout the years. Their gifts have supported areas across the university, from establishing the Willie Leone Endowed Scholarship Fund in Music Theater to naming the John and Willie Leone Family Department of Energy and Mineral Engineering to supporting intercollegiate athletics. With a love for sports and an enduring commitment to Penn State, John also made a significant gift in 2014 to name the John and Willie Leone Family Strength and Conditioning Center in the Lash Football Building. With this new $6.5 million gift, it's John's intention that $5 million will be used to endow the John Leone Dean's Chair in the College of Earth and Mineral Sciences. This will provide the dean with discretionary funds to enhance student engagement opportunities outside the classroom, promote innovation and entrepreneurship, address the underrepresentation of women and minorities in the STEM disciplines of EMS, and sustain and grow leadership in energy, materials, and environmental education, among other priorities. The remaining $1.5 million will support renovations to the Lash Football Building to help bolster the program's ability to recruit and retain top coaches and student athletes. Penn State is very fortunate to have John Leone so committed to the success of this institution. Although he was unable to be here today, I hope you take an opportunity to thank him for his support the next time he is on campus. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. As discussed in executive session earlier today and based upon the generous endowment gift by John Leone, may I ask for a motion to move forward with the naming of the John Leone Dean's Chair in the College of Earth and Mineral Sciences? Second? Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. While Mr. Leone is not with us at today's meeting, on behalf of the board, I want to thank him for his generosity and support of Penn State. Consent agenda items. We have a slate of 13 consent agenda items to come before the board for approval. If anyone thinks that one or more items should be discussed and voted on separately, please say so, and we will exclude that item or items from the consent agenda. Are there any such items? If none, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda items A through M as presented? Second? All in favor? Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. President's report. At this time, I'll ask Vice President for Research Neil Sharkey to provide some remarks and context to set the stage for today's focus topic and discussion. Neil?
Thank you, Mark. Good afternoon, everyone. So there's no better way to start this presentation than with this quote from Evan Pugh, our visionary first president. I think Dr. Pugh would be very proud of Penn State and where we are today. We're realizing his vision every day. Whoop. So what exactly is the value that comes with original investigations published to the world? Well, here's some of them. It drives progress in the Commonwealth, in the nation, and in the world. Universities in the U.S. have really become the nation's innovative centers and are responsible for just about 50% of the United States basic science research and another large percentage of its R&D work. It attracts leading faculty to the institution, innovators and knowledge creators. It provides experiences that enable students to go on to great productive careers. It's crucial for our standing among the AAU, the Big Ten, and other world-class institutions. And of course, it's a great draw to bring great students to our institution. So Penn State's research operation is organized to maximize the value of our research and take advantage of our full potential. My office works with the University Research Council, with the deans and their associate deans, with the chancellors, to oversee a wide-ranging operation that includes the university-wide interdisciplinary research centers that I'll talk about a little bit later on, the Office of Sponsored Programs, which provides all the administrative support for both pre-award work to bring in dollars to fund our research, as well as the expenditures of those dollars. The Applied Research Lab, which is our university-affiliated research center. Again, I will mention that later in the presentation. Our Center for Research Commercialization, which is really responsible for moving our bright ideas and our products and innovations to the marketplace. And of course, our Office of Research Protections, which ensures that all our research follows federal law and regulations, university policy, protects our research subjects, and protects our faculty and protects our research animals. And believe me, there's a lot here to oversee. The pie chart of our 2019 research expenditures, now approaching $1 billion annually, provides the sources of funding that Penn State taps into to achieve its research mission. Almost two-thirds of the funding comes from federal agencies such as the Department of Defense, NIH, National Science Foundation, Department of Energy, etc. Close to $2 million of the university's own dollars support non-funded but nonetheless important individual faculty research across the institution. And we have a growing portfolio of support from private industry, foundations, and gifts. And of course, the funding from the Commonwealth rounds out these totals. Taken as a whole, these resources conspire to create a university that produces significant impact. We are a comprehensive university, producing impact across all domains and sectors. So let's take a real quick look at a few examples of some major ongoing projects. The Gates Foundation supplies dollars to Professor Matt Thomas in entomology, who's doing work to combat mosquitoes in Africa that will help eradicate malaria in Tanzania and other African nations. The PA Department of Agriculture funds our animal diagnostic laboratories, which actually protects our agricultural animals as well as PA citizens against infectious disease and bioterrorism. National Science Foundation funds Klaus Keller in the College of Earth and Mineral Science, who's doing some extensive work looking at the threat of climate change across the globe and ways that it might be mitigated. Patient-Centered Outcomes Institute supports Chris Shiamama at the College of Medicine, who's studying fragility bone fractures in the elderly, which is becoming an increasingly prevalent condition. The work of Nina Jablonski, Evan Pugh Professor of Anthropology, can provide a little deeper dive into what Penn State impact really looks like. Her TED Talk concerning the biology and evolution of skin color has had over 1 million views to date, and it grows every day. So let's hear a little about what Nina does.
We are obsessed with visual appearance. What is unusual is that we put value judgments on what we see. A lot of my research is to educate that we are not human races. We are one people of different color. Nature's way of coping with ultraviolet radiation is to put a natural sunscreen between the inside of your body and the sun. Groups that start living outside of the tropics actually lose some of their pigmentation. Races have never existed in nature. They were formulated by people who had opinions and very few facts. We need to dig deep into that historical fallacy and tear it out by the roots.
Yeah, isn't she fantastic? So one of the real great pleasures of my position is that I get to regularly converse with professors like Nina, who are studying at the boundaries of their domains and who have the wherewithal and the passion to effectively convey their findings and what they mean to the rest of us. It really is impact. So great faculty can't excel without great resources. Penn State's major interdisciplinary institutes administered directly through my office play a major role in driving the research agenda of the entire university. Great disciplinary work happens in our colleges, campuses, and departments, but our unique institute model serves as the glue to bring our researchers from various departments together around common goals, enabling us to undertake large and creative projects that could not be accomplished otherwise. As you can see here, our institutes span health, the life sciences, computation and data science, energy and the environment, materials, and the social and behavioral sciences. And they are a true source of pride for the institution and the envy of our peers in that we at Penn State have figured out how our institutes can cooperate and enhance the activities in our colleges rather than compete with them, as so often happens at other Research One universities. This slide and the next two provide some examples of major work that's facilitated by our institute model. The two-dimensional Crystal Consortium is a National Science Foundation award that actually funds a state-of-the-art facility here at Penn State that's actually a resource provided to other academic institutions and to private businesses to develop advanced next-generation materials for new electronic applications. Many projects since its initiation in 2016. It's only one of 2 materials innovation platforms awarded by NSF in the US. It really speaks to the prowess of our materials research scientists in MRI who really lead the nation in a lot of these material domains. The Consortium to Combat Substance Abuse is a recently initiated effort here at Penn State that's being administered through the Social Science Research Institute. It's going to bring together faculty and experts across Penn State to combat the opioid epidemic as well as other abusive behaviors. We will add and fill in gaps in an already strong portfolio in this domain by hiring 12 new faculty, and that we will provide seed grants to bring these faculty together around new projects and efforts. Our first conference will be held this coming April. And another exciting network that's worth mentioning that's also fostered by activities in the social behavioral domain is the Child Maltreatment Solutions Network that's been going for a while now. They recently earned almost an $8 million NIH award to combat child maltreatment. It's not only research, it's actually the application of that research. So the network actually is producing new knowledge as well as designing new approaches to prevention, detection, and treatment of child maltreatment. And it actually is very active across the Commonwealth in communities to really apply that knowledge and make it work. And now I'd like to talk a little bit about our university-affiliated research center, the Applied Research Lab. It's designated to provide R&D in support of our national defense, principally but not entirely from using Navy funding. It's perhaps our best kept campus secret. ARL employs about 1,200 people and accounts for a full quarter of our annual research expenditures. And I have to tell you, I'm never more proud than when I'm over in the ARL facility for our semi-annual meeting with the board that directs the activities there. It's innovative research and development, and it's incorporated and deployed in countless defense systems protecting all of us right now. It's an amazing place, and it's critical to our national defense. Dr. Pugh knew that the very best teachers are those regularly engaged at the boundaries of their fields. Those with passion and knowledge to forge ahead must know what has come before, and our faculty do, and they understand, and they instill confidence and impact that to their students. A very large amount of our research dollars actually go to fund our students. In fiscal year 2016-17, a full 60% of our research of individuals supported from the research dollars that we brought in from federal and other sources went to support students. External grants and contracts in fiscal years 17 and 18 provided $25 million in graduate student support. That number essentially equates to half-time stipend for 10 months of support for over 1,200 graduate students. Corporate gifts support a lot of undergraduate projects every year, and they also strengthen recruitment efforts by those corporations and do a great job of preparing our undergraduate students for the workplace. And our interdisciplinary institutes, as mentioned before, really supply a lot of resources to the graduate education initiatives here at Penn State as well. And training grants are a large part of our research activities, and these are highly competitive. They're really aimed at training the next generation of scientists, but they really require a lot of very highly skilled researchers to actually garner these training grants through the national agencies. So they're composed of dedicated faculty that want to train students and have very strong research credentials as well as records of student success. So Penn State currently has 10 such awards and is always on the hunt for more, but you can see that we have right now about close to $3 million in awards and training grants. So there are many undergraduates engaged in research at this institution as well. In the past 5 years, we've had 8,000 students earning research credits, but that doesn't really touch the number of students doing research. We have no way to really track, but a lot of us would guess that at least the same amount of undergrads are engaged in research on either a wage payroll basis or just on a voluntary basis to really increase their credentials before they graduate. Also, you can see that in the earliest year, we have data for 15-16. We had 10 awards awarded to 974 undergraduate students. In 17-18, 156 Erickson Discovery Grants were awarded across our Commonwealth campuses. And of course, the research has indirect benefits to all of our students because those faculty are in the classroom teaching. And it's not just at University Park where this occurs. There's lots of research and student engagement going on across our Commonwealth campuses. The advantage that some of our undergrads have on the campuses is that most of them do not have graduate programs, and that affords the opportunity for undergrads to work directly with faculty on a more regular basis and be directly engaged in their research projects. And on a final note concerning students in research, results from a 2010 study by the National Research Council, the most recent study of its kind, placed 43% of Penn State's 69 graduate programs in the top 10% of their respective fields. Rankings were provided in this case as overlapping ranges rather than discrete ranks, but nevertheless, the first four across the top line here, anthropology, plant biology, kinesiology, and Spanish, were clearly ranked as the best in the country, garnering a very narrow range at the top. And many, many more of our programs were within the top 10, and it's no question just an excellent performance and rankings for our graduate education that's closely tied to research. And the growth of our overall research enterprise hasn't been too shabby either. Research expenditures have doubled since the year 2000. Because the lion's share of funding comes from federal agencies, the nonlinear nature of this curve, which lags behind a bit but nonetheless reflects the economic condition of the nation and the willingness of Washington to invest in R&D. But there is no doubt that we've grown of our own accord as well, and given the highly competitive national landscape for funding, that growth is indeed a measure of our excellence. So we've exceeded $800 million in research expenditures over the last 8 years. 15 of our disciplines are ranked in the top 10, according to NSF statistics. We are the only institution in the nation with that many top 10 rankings. We are one of only 2 institutions in the country accorded land grant, sea grant, sun grant, and space grant status. Our university libraries rank 10th among North American research libraries. We're number 7 in top producers of Fulbright scholars and students, and we have 110 faculty who are fellows and members of major national academies. We are also a long-standing member of the Association of American Universities, which represents 62 leading research universities in the U.S. and Canada. And these are chosen among the 2,300 and counting colleges and universities. AAU universities award nearly half of all the U.S. PhDs, doctorals, in the U.S. and Canada. Okay, so we've sort of looked at the dollars. NSF collects those expenditure data as a convenient means of measuring the magnitude and quality of our research enterprise, but it's not the dollar amount so much as the impact of those dollars that's really important. This bar graph shows the number of Penn State publications in the dark blue bars along the bottom and the subsequent citations of those publications in the lighter blue relative to the top 35 universities in the nation. Penn State ranks 13th in this regard and sits among some pretty good company. Our faculty productivity is excellent. You can see that in fiscal year 18, we had almost $3 billion in proposals submitted, $730 million awarded. The number of proposals is almost 4,800 with almost 1,900 awarded, and that ratio works out to about 40%, which is really outstanding given the competitive nature of research in the U.S. these days. In fact, we had almost 2,000 individual investigators received awards across our colleges and campuses, and those awards came from 967 different sponsors. As I said earlier, we are truly a comprehensive research university. Okay, so how does all this excellence play out in terms of economic impact? Well, first of all, the very act of performing this research serves to drive the economy. Indeed, taken as a whole, the nation's R1 universities are extremely powerful economic engines, and the vendors that they support through their purchases are often relatively young startup companies doing cutting-edge products to really grow innovation in the nation. Penn State's research expenditures within the United States have been $84 million in fiscal year 2017, within Pennsylvania, $21 million, and within Center County alone, totaled at $8 million. And then there's Dr. Barron's Invent Penn State initiative, which capitalizes on our research discoveries and really has been wildly successful. It's been a welcome addition to several communities across the Commonwealth. So you can see some of the data produced that these 21 launch boxes placed in communities next to our Commonwealth campuses have generated. The numbers are really quite amazing. Engaging 4,500 students, a number of entrepreneurial activities, over 500 faculty, lots of new products developed, lots of new startups, 45 new businesses in PA, and 107 new jobs created through mostly undergraduate student efforts, where undergraduates have either taken ideas that they've learned from professors or applied creative new ideas just based on the knowledge that they've gathered at Penn State and through the support of the Invent Penn State initiative. Really great numbers, serving to inspire the communities that these launch boxes are in, with a lot of leverage dollars and philanthropic support, to date totaling $4.5 million. And looking at our more traditional tech transfer operations, we've also upped our game in that regard. You can see starting in 2013, a jump in the number of high-end technologies that have spun out into startups into the Commonwealth. And we're working very hard to attract more and more industry sponsorship to the university as well. So despite upping our game, you can see by these data that we really have a little bit of work to do yet. We're trying to change the culture of the university so that we're not just making those great discoveries, but we're bringing them to the marketplace on a regular basis. So a number of disclosures are trending up, so our faculty are telling us about their great new work. And you can see the launch boxes really launched great in that green line, and our number of patents are tending to trend up, but these, pretty inconclusive data. So we're really working hard, and I think we're gearing up our ecosystem to see a real boost in moving our technologies to the marketplace in the coming years. Okay, we have another way to drive the economy, of course, is not just with new startups, but to really enhance the work of existing companies in PA and beyond. And we have just an excellent relationship with a number of corporate partners. You can see the data on this slide. What's quite impressive is, on average, 500 companies per year sponsor projects here at the university. And there's big recognizable names that we partner with, as well as small startups across the Commonwealth. And we've got an office very engaged, and those numbers have been growing at a reasonable rate over the past few years as well. And there's no doubt that Penn State is a global university. This plot actually shows the number of papers that were put out with collaborative authors across the planet. And the size of those dots or those circles illustrates the number of publications coming out of these various countries. So research is really a global effort, and our faculty collaborate with people from all over the globe to produce their research, and also driving local economies in the process. And then I should say a little bit about where we're going with development and corporate. It should be clear by now that our research goals are really connected to our land-grant mission and to Dr. Pugh's original vision of the university. And by natural extension, That impacts our institutional strategies, our strategic plan, as well as our development campaign. In fact, the Impact the World segment of our Greater Penn State Development Campaign actually is the best performing imperative, reaching 81% of the goals at the 50% time mark in the campaign. Those Impact the World efforts are focused, as you can see, on food, water, energy, human health, and economic development and job creation. So in summary, innovation, research, and knowledge creation serves society, drives student opportunities and success, promotes economic development and progress, attracts faculty and outstanding students, enhances the university's standing as a world-class Research One university. So thank you for listening. I'll open it up to discussions. Here's a few questions that might kick off discussions, but I'm happy to try to answer any questions that any of you might have. So thanks very much. Alice.
Thank you, Neil. Very, very interesting, and as a Penn State PhD myself, this makes me very proud. I was very interested in your talking about Penn State having designations as not only land grant, which I think we understand, but sun grant, sea grant, and space grant. What are those things?
Those are designations through various agencies that actually provide money to the institutions that are designated. So depending on what designation, for example, as NASA supplies the space grant, where a natural land grant, part of the land grant effort throughout the country that you know about. Sun grants really focused on solar through I believe through the Department of Energy that we were designated. There's a handful of universities designated as sun grants, and then C is NOAA, and that grant is actually administered through our Barron campus out on Lake Erie. So it's pretty neat. I believe the only other institution with that designation is Oregon.
So what's required to get that designation? It must not be easy since a
Primarily
lot of other places don't have it.
applications and expertise in those domains. So a large cadre of people able to teach in those domains with a scientific expertise and teaching ability. Good question. That's it? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Neil, and we appreciate the engagement and discussion on this important topic. It was thoughtful and informative. Are there any other matters to come before the board? Hearing none, we're adjourned. Thank you.